I'm Keith Poston. I'm the President and Executive Director of the Public School Forum of North Carolina. I want to add my welcome to all of you here for this truly festive occasion. It certainly feels like a festive occasion to me. And I also want to thank again the students and teachers are just packing up now, but Community Music School and Carnegie Magnet Middle School. We certainly appreciate that. And I got to say, I love this. I hope you do too. These centerpieces from Joyner Elementary School, which is where my baby went to school, who's now a freshman in college. And I'm sure we probably still have some kind of duct tape chair or something around the house from her. So, but I love seeing those. We certainly believe arts and music are an integral part of education, so we appreciate them. I want to tell you a little bit about this annual education award. Is named after the late Jay Robinson. Dr. Robinson was one of our state's most distinguished education leaders. He had a 50-year career that took him from Cabarrus County football coach to the superintendent of Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools to a top position with the University of North Carolina system and chairman of the State Board of Education. He was also the first president of the Public School Forum of North Carolina. Many of you I know in the room knew Jay. I've had people come up to me and mention that they worked for him or worked under him when he was at Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. So I know Jay was dedicated to public education, and we're pleased to honor leaders like Jim and Barbara Goodman with this award in his name now for 19 years. So let's give a hand to Jay Robinson. All right. It's been 1 year since we all gathered for this event. I know I'll see a lot of familiar faces and good friends here. It's also been another powerful and impactful year for the Public School Forum of North Carolina. Our North Carolina Resilience and Learning Project, which is helping schools better support children dealing with trauma, continue to expand across North Carolina, and we're excited about that. Our Color of Education partnership with the Samuel Du Bois Cook Center for Social Equity at Duke and Duke Policy Bridge, which is focused on racial equity issues, continues to expand. Last year we kicked it off. Some of you were there. We had the great Nicole Hannah-Jones of the New York Times Magazine as our keynote speaker. And this fall in October, actually right here in this room, we're going to be having our first statewide racial equity summit in education, and our keynote speaker that day will be award-winning author Ta-Nehisi Coates. So please be looking for more information about that and go to our website. Your support makes things like that possible. It makes support things like our Center for After-School programs possible, our Education Policy Fellowship program possible. It makes our weekly television show, Education Matters, possible. We just celebrated our 100th episode just a few weeks ago. So thank you. Thank you. If you're here tonight, you probably already have a good sense of who we are as an organization. First and foremost, we believe in public schools and public education. Historically, it is who we are as a state. And it's certainly why this organization was founded more than 30 years ago. Our founders, and there's some of them that are actually here in the audience tonight, they knew that parties in power change. Governors change, House speakers change, Senate leaders come and go, and that we need an organization that brings together business leaders, that brings together educators, elected officials, nonprofits, and key stakeholders who all work together to champion public schools, both celebrating successes, but always looking for ways to improve. Tonight, we're here to honor Jim and Barbara Goodman, champions in their own right, but we're also here to celebrate public schools. Now, an event like this would not be possible without the support of sponsors, and so I want to recognize them now. Our public school champion sponsors this year are Biogen and the Watson School of Education at UNC Wilmington. There you go. Under the leadership of Dr. Van Dempsey, UNC Wilmington continues to grow as one of our state's top programs preparing our future teachers. And then Biogen continues to be a major employer here in the Research Triangle Park area, and we appreciate Miles Devaney and his team and the leadership there and on our board of directors. So Biogen, thank you so much. Our Friends of Education sponsors are the Borough's Wellcome Fund, Curie, which you may formerly know as Medical Mutual Insurance. They're going through a rebranding there, a wonderful company and leadership from Dale Jenkins there. The East Carolina College of Education. There you go. Yeah, there. East Carolina's in the house. Our friends at Markin are here, a UPS company. We appreciate Markin. The Maynard Family Foundation, Easter is here, and of course the Maynards have been such wonderful friends of education for so long. Professional Builder Supply, thank you for your support. Schwartz and Shaw, there you go, Richard Schwartz and his team is over here. If you're from a school district, you may have worked with Richard, and if you're on the other side of the courtroom, you may wish you weren't working with Richard and Schwartz and Shaw. But we appreciate you. Wells Fargo, we appreciate their community support and their support of this organization. Two other good friends of education and friends of ours, Fidelity Investments is here. We appreciate Fidelity very much. And PNC. PNC has, it feels like they're still new in some ways, but PNC came into this community and this market and has really made a mark and done a lot of good things in investing in education, particularly in early childhood, and we appreciate that. So please give all of these sponsors, the top sponsors, a round of applause. Now we have more than 40 sponsored tables here this year, so I am not going to read each one, but I am going to, they're on the back of your program, the names and logos of each of them, so I'm scrolling them across the screen now, but again, we could not put on an event like this every year if it wasn't for all of these table sponsors, and so let's give them a round of applause too. Now, one of the things that our sponsors do, and we're going to get to this in just a moment, but what they do is we sell table sponsorships and we ask them to let us seat 2 educators at each of their tables so that we can have these really nice events. Actually, I'm looking at Governor Huntson and nodding because this was something that we did the very first year when we honored him. He wants as many teachers in the room as possible, so we wouldn't be able to have as many teachers come to an event like this if our sponsors weren't generous with their table sponsorships. Now, Speaking of teachers, I've said this before, but it really is an honor in my own small way and in this organization to help lift up the voices of teachers. We are honored to be joined tonight by not one, but several North Carolina Teachers of the Year. And actually, at least one North Carolina Principal of the Year. I got Tabari Wallace is here. Where's Tabari? Although actually I met Tabari Wallace, and then I met Renika Wallace, who's also a principal. So I think she may actually be the Principal of the Year at home. Our outgoing Teacher of the Year, which is hard to believe it's already been a year, Freebird McKinney is here. Freebird, you've been a wonderful, wonderful ambassador for teachers in North Carolina. Other Teachers of the Year here, Keena Triplett is here. Karen Dickerson is here. All right, and last but not least, our brand new Borough's Wellcome Fund North Carolina Teacher of the Year, Mariah Morris is here. Where's Mariah? Can you stand up? We're so proud of all of you and that you're glad you're here. Now, like I said, we're going to be honoring the Goodmans here in just a minute, but I think they would also agree that the real heroes in the room are all of these teachers and really all the teachers in the room. So, look, this is always fun for me. If you are currently a classroom teacher currently a teacher in North Carolina, would you please stand? Please stand. All right. Now keep standing. If you've ever been a classroom teacher in North Carolina, please stand up. Look at that. Thank you. Thank you. It's awesome. It's awesome. Now, at a gathering like this, there's always too many special guests, but I do want to highlight a few. We do have a few previous J. Robinson Award winners. We have last year's recipient, Ann Goodnight is here. Ann, thank you for being here. We have former Public School Forum Executive Director John Dornan is here. John, it's always great to see you. Governor Hunt is here, and you're going to be hearing from him in a moment. Dr. Sam Houston is here from the North Carolina Science, Math, and Technology Center. Sam. And Dr. Dudley Flood is here. So thank you, and let's give all those award winners a round of applause. We also have many members of the Public School Forum's Board of Directors and our forum membership that's here. If you're a forum board member or a member of our advisory board, our membership, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you so much. All right, I just have a couple more folks I want to recognize. I do want to recognize, we have a lot of elected officials, state and local officials here, but I do want to recognize the members of the General Assembly that I know are here. We have Senator Gladys Robinson is here. We love Senator Robinson. She's here. Representative Greg Meyer is here. Representative Julie Von Hafen is here. And we also have Representative Sidney Batch is here. And we're really glad to see you out and about and on the floor of the House. So thank you for being here. We do have several announced candidates for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Now, since we're the Public School Forum, it seemed appropriate to welcome them and point them out. Now, I'm sure that they would be happy to meet you, ask for your vote, maybe a check. Now, there's not 23 of them, so this, you can get around and talk to all of them, but there are a few that are here, and I want to recognize them. James Barrett's here. These are in alphabetical order, by the way. James Barrett's here. Michael Marr is here. Jen Mangrum is here. And Keith Sutton is here. So if I missed anyone, I sincerely apologize, but all four of these folks are running in the Democratic primary for state superintendent. We also, I should say, June Atkinson was here, our former state superintendent of public instruction here. There's June. All right, so if I missed anyone, my apologies. It is now my pleasure to introduce, wait a second, I need to introduce Mike first. Dr. Michael Priddy is our immediate past chairman, and I want to invite Mike up now to make a few comments before we move into our tribute speakers. Mike? I got ahead of myself. Thank you.
Good evening. A special thanks to Keith and Tom Williams for this moment of personal privilege. I come before you tonight to say thank you for your support of the Public School Forum and its work, and to say thanks to Keith and our board for the very special honor bestowed upon me last year at this same event. In his introductory remarks last year, Keith quoted a saying that I had shared with him right after he was hired. Quote, "Babies like surprises, superintendents don't." When Keith called me to the stage, I was so surprised and humbled that I found myself speechless and was not able to express my appreciation for the Old North State Award conferred by the governor. As you may know, the award recognizes past work, but it also looks to the future with its message, quote, "Working together, we can make North Carolina the place of unlimited opportunity," end quote. Since becoming the forum's immediate past chair last June, I've tried to take a step back and look at the landscape here in North Carolina, including my 50-year perspective going back to my first days of teaching during court-ordered desegregation. I'm taken by one person who was outspoken at that time about the importance of our democracy's social and political institutions. That's John Gardner, who was the Secretary of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare under President Lyndon Johnson. In 1968, John Gardner delivered a commencement address at Cornell University, and I've lifted one sentence from it, an admonition that I believe is equally important 51 years later. Quote, "The scholars understood that where human institutions were concerned, love without criticism brings stagnation, and criticism without love brings destruction." When it comes to the Public School Forum in North Carolina, the thing that stands out for me over our 30-plus year history is our willingness to criticize with love. We strive to recognize and confront the vexing issues facing traditional public schools in North Carolina. We feel strongly that our traditional public schools are an essential part of every community's fabric, a cornerstone for the public good, and an institution that has been and continues to be an integral part in this state's economic successes. Today, a desire to have ownership through the exercise of choice has become a clarion call. Choice can be empowering and often deepens one's commitment. As we know, folks are slow to criticize their own good judgments. But choice using somebody else's money without real accountability can be dangerous to the public good and a democracy's welfare and stability. As I step away from my roles here at the Forum, I would like to offer my dream, which is that we as citizens become fiercely united in a call for the design, the funding, and the implementation of an educational support system that strengthens the success potential for all students, teachers, and schools. We have come close on some earlier occasions, but unexpected turns and events deterred our consistent progress. The Forum has seen this done in other places, and we can do it here in the Old North State. I treasure my Forum memories, and I especially appreciate every one of you for your continuing support of the Public School Forum's work, which allows us to criticize with love. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our speakers who are going to share their thoughts on tonight's honorees. Our first speaker, if you want to start coming up to the stage, is Nikki Charles. Nikki is the Chief Operating Officer for the East Durham Children's Initiative. Nikki?
Thank you, Keith. Good evening, everyone. Wow, so this is scary. For those of you who know the East Durham Children's Initiative, you know that I am the behind-the-scenes girl. But it is my absolute honor and pleasure to be with you tonight to give tribute to our deserving honorees. As a woman whose entire career was built around working with and on behalf of families and children, I'm especially energized to be in the room with so many people dedicated to public education in North Carolina. Before we get to our two main honorees, I want to join Keith in thanking the many educators, advocates in the room tonight, especially the Teachers of the Year, present and former. Thank you for all you do for our children. I also want to thank the Public School Forum, especially staff and board members, for thinking of EDCI and having us here tonight. So, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous about coming here this evening. I wanted to make sure that I adequately demonstrate just how important our honorees, Jim and Barbara, have been to the work of the East Durham Children's Initiative. See, I'm a North Carolina transplant. I confess that I spent the first year commuting back and forth to Philadelphia, where I was consulting with this Philadelphia School Reform Commission, where I was the former executive director. That means two things: I'm hot. It's hot. It's hot here. I can't take it. And I didn't know much about the state or the region outside of academia and obviously college basketball. Big UNC fan, but I decided that the best way to ensure I didn't miss anything important tonight was to talk to the people I knew who somehow were connected to the Goodmans. Well, turns out everyone is somehow connected to the Goodman family, so I decided simply to focus on the themes that emerged in some of my conversations over the past month. Here are the values I heard over and over. Jim and Barbara demonstrate actionable leadership. They are shining examples of creative visioning. Barbara and Jim share incomparable commitments to North Carolina and have maximized impact through regionalism, and they do all of this with humility and senses of humor. I'm sure there are many Goodman fellows in the crowd tonight, and I'm glad to say I'm one as well. And as a Leadership Triangle alum, I attended the Thrive Conference in Durham a couple of weeks ago. There, the Leadership Triangle Executive Director, Jess Averhart, described the term connective tissue, which resonated with me. She mentioned it in relation to how we might approach our leadership work, but it occurred to me that connective tissue also describes the values demonstrated by the Goodmans. Now bear with me, because I'm sure the term connective tissue evokes that graphic image of your 9th grade biology book with like the skeleton and the bones, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the function of the connective tissue. It primarily supports, anchors, connects various parts of the body. Although the functions of connective tissue are varied, it's responsible for the cohesion of the body as an organism. This is exactly what the Goodmans have done for our region. Connected resources, whether through dollars, people, ideas, to each other, to cohesively solve issues, structurally address systemic needs, and orient all of us around the idea that we can solve problems in education, in our community, and for our stakeholders if and when we operate as a unit. At the East Durham Children's Initiative, we function in a similar way, mostly. You see, EDCI isn't a program, we're not a school, we're not a center. We are a hybrid collective impact model that brings together nearly 40 partner organizations to create a pipeline of supported services that work together to walk with families to successfully complete high school, ready for college or career. So our model is a bit unconventional, and yet it is exactly why we're here tonight. Among the first people to buy in and believe unconventional can work in East Durham were Jim and Barbara Goodman. Our board chair, Barker French, likes to share the story about how he got Jim and Barbara to buy in early. Now, I'm pretty sure his methods in 48 states would be considered stalking, but if you've ever met Barker, you know the word no is merely an opportunity. In that spirit, Barker secured some time on Barbara's calendar. I'm sure, like many of you, they met at the North Hill Starbucks, where Barker shared what 10 years ago was merely an idea, a vision. Barker drove back to Durham, hoping that he at least opened the door for future conversation. But, like any actionable leader, Barbara called him back that same afternoon, told Barker the facts, more information, so she could share it with the A.J. Fletcher board. Within a week, Barbara had committed support to EDCI. Ladies and gentlemen, EDCI received its first $50,000 investment to take the vision to reality. Since then, the Goodmans have continued to support our work in many ways. Jim and Barbara helped EDCI create its first marketing video. It's still on the internet. Don't look it up. We've grown much since then, supported us as benefactors of the Battle of the Bands, have helped us guide us through the startup years. Additionally, they have invested over $1 million in the partners that our work in Durham, creating a cross-sector, cross-system of support has created. The Goodmans have not just supported Durham. They made the region better as a place to live, not just for the families that we serve, but for all of us. We get to live and play at the American Tobacco campus, walk trails across the Triangle, watch ball games at the Bulls Stadium. We benefit from educational programming, fight for internet connectivity, the list goes on and on. The Goodmans continue to show us that solutions exist We have to find them and fund them, and then we must do so not just in our own backyards, but across the region and the state. We have to commit to stretch goals and don't let imposed barriers block our creative thinking as we fight for educational equity. So Jim and Barbara, thank you for everything you've done for the families of East Durham and EDCI. It's not an exaggeration to state that without your commitment and support, EDCI would not yield the measurable success it has today. We are in our 8th year of operation, and we have expanded to serve over 2,000 EDCI-enrolled children in Durham. We are beyond grateful for everything you've done for us, and for the rest of us tonight. There's no denying that we are lucky to have Jim and Barbara Goodman. Yes, it's immensely important to acknowledge and be grateful for their immeasurable gifts to many of our organizations and systems. However, it is more important to honor their legacy by continuing the good work they have done and continue to do. We must let their leadership inspire all of us to be servant leaders, to stretch beyond what we thought possible, and get creative in our push to find solutions. Let us be the muscle, blood supply, bone, to the Goodman connective tissue to solve North Carolina's biggest issue. Let us be reminded through our gratitude for Jim and Barbara that we can and we will together. On behalf of EDCI, thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Nikki. It's a wonderful organization, and we appreciate you sharing about their support for the group. Our next speaker doesn't need a whole lot of introduction, but I'm still going to give him one. Served 4 historic terms as governor of North Carolina, became the nation's first education governor, and my hero, a lot of yours, Governor Jim Hunt.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Well, isn't it wonderful to be here tonight celebrating and supporting public education in North Carolina? And I want to personally thank all of you. I haven't seen everybody here tonight, but I've seen a lot of great folks. And we appreciate all that all of you do, especially the teachers and the principals and all the wonderful donors tonight. Thank you. Folks, I'm reading a new book entitled Pioneers by David McCulloch. And it tells the story of how public education, once the Revolutionary War was over with and people were beginning to pour into the West, my wife is from Iowa, they insisted out there, as we had done in our own Constitution, that they provide for public schools. And that's been done all over America. The public schools are the most precious institution that we have in this country. And thank you for supporting them, and let's work harder for them. Tonight I'm delighted and honored to be here to speak about these 2 great awardees. They are always doing good stuff. I'm amazed that they keep spotting the stuff coming along that ought to be done and that can be done if good people get behind it. Jim and Barbara Goodman have been an amazing force for public education in our state. I could spend the next 30 minutes talking about the stuff they've done. But it is really amazing. You've already heard some of it here. You'll hear some more tonight. For example, and this is a part of education, I remember when we created the North Carolina Partnership for Children, now called Smart Start, the best effort of its kind in any state in America. And thank you. Because we want all of those children to start to school healthy and ready to go, ready to fly, I like to say. But the question was, who could lead this new thing? Who could get people on both sides in the legislature to support it and to fund it? And the person that we identified to do it was Jim Goodwin. Now, Jim, I don't want to embarrass you. I think at that time you were a registered Republican. Whether or not, you've always been leading for what's right. And I remember what you did. You took this thing on. You said, we want to have a 501c3 public-private partnership in every county in North Carolina. We want all of our children to get a good start. That's when this magazine cover came out in Time magazine. Jim brought one here tonight. This guy wanted every child to have a chance for a good start and to come to our schools healthy and ready to learn. I like to say, ready to fly. And he went out all over the state. I mean, here's a guy who's running this television station and buying the Durham Bulls and all that great stuff, and he takes this on and did a great job of getting it going. And states all over America copied it. And I keep hearing from him, Jim. Barbara, through her work at the A.J. Fletcher Foundation, has done marvelous work supporting the arts and education and the nonprofit sector generally. You've heard one example of it tonight, but every day I hear more things, Barbara, that you're doing and that you're leading. The Fletcher Academy, serving students with learning difficulties. The UNC School of the Arts. The A.J. Fletcher Opera Institute for young singers and pianists. Barbara's always doing these things. I think Jim's doing a lot of stuff, and then I find out she's doing more. But always thinking about the children and about schools and how we can make North Carolina better. Now, they have put their focus on the public arena, helping our people understand the importance of public education. That's a job that all of you are involved in many ways, that I have spent my life in trying to do. But they have done it in such a big way, in such a significant way, a way that all of you recognize, and that's why you're here tonight. They have focused on the positive things. They have focused on helping build public support in areas where we have fallen short. Jim's always had education reporters at his station. Think about that. You know, most newspapers don't have any anymore. You all know that, don't you? WRAL has one, and several other people working in the editorial area and so forth. They have supported an education reporter fellowship at WUNC Radio, a diversity fellowship program with a person in WRAL in the newsroom, bringing in young people to learn how to report on education and how to cover it and why it's important. That's another example of what they've done. It is really something. And Jim focuses all the time. He's always thinking about education, and so is Barbara. And so tonight we are delighted to come here and to recognize, just mention a few of the things that they've done. But one of them in particular that I want to mention to all of you is Education Matters. One of the most important things that has happened, sponsored by the Public School Forum, and it airs weekly, and I want to challenge all of you. I confess, I don't see it every week, but I'm going to do better after tonight. And I want us, all of us, to do it, and I want us to recommend it to people. It's on WRAL, Channel 5, it's on Fox 50, and it's on the North Carolina channel of UNC Television. Jim Goodman's brainchild. You'll learn about what's going on. You'll hear people talk about what we can do. You'll be encouraged. You'll be inspired to do more yourself. That's an amazing thing. I'll bet you no state in America has a program like that with the coverage that they have. It's really something. So tonight, all of us are here to celebrate them. And I just want to say that I've been involved in public leadership for about 50 years in this state. I have watched things, and I've seen education, public education, get really big, making great progress, putting in public school kindergartens that I worked with a great Republican governor to do, putting in teacher assistants in every classroom in grades 1, 2, and 3, and with a lot of things that we've done. We can do those big things again, including raising teacher and principal and pay for the people who work in those public schools, and they deserve a lot more. The work of Jim and Barbara Goodman makes those kinds of things come about. I am so honored to be here tonight to pay tribute to them and to thank them for helping make North Carolina what it can be and should be and must be. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Governor Hunt. Our current governor, the Honorable Roy Cooper, could not be here tonight. His schedule's been pretty challenging, plus I think some of y'all know the governor just recently had some back surgery, so his schedule's been a little off. But he definitely wanted to extend his congratulations, and he recorded a message that we're going to play now.
Hi everyone, I'm Roy Cooper. I can't be with you in person tonight, but I want to say congratulations to my friends Jim and Barbara Goodman on winning the Education Leadership Award. This is a well-deserved honor. For decades, Jim and Barbara have tirelessly promoted strong public schools in North Carolina. And we must follow their example and encourage all our leaders to make public education a top priority in this state. When I became governor, I laid out an aggressive goal to make North Carolina a top 10 educated state by 2025, focusing on early childhood education, increasing enrollment in pre-K, and improving our high school graduation rate and making sure we have a good teacher in every classroom and a good principal in every school. I know I can count on leaders like Jim and Barbara to help us achieve these goals. Thank you, Jim and Barbara, and all of you there for your dedication to our students and helping us create a brighter future for North Carolina. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, our final tribute speaker tonight is, like the Goodmans, one of this area's great leaders and a lifelong friend of Jim's. Please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Smedes York, Chairman of the Board of York Properties. And someone that I don't have to lower the microphone for, I think. So.
Well, some of you may think that that's a hard act to follow. But actually, it's a good act to follow because they've covered most everything, except a few gaps. They've left a few gaps that I want to cover. But first, Rosemary's here with me. We've been friends with Jim and Barbara for many years, but particularly I want to talk about Jim right here. We've been friends for many years. We were at Broughton High School together. Actually, probably hard for you to visualize, but I am a couple of years older. So when I was in the 12th grade, he was in the 10th grade. So I tried to mentor him very, very hard. And things like how to talk to girls, things like that, how to dress. Mixed success, to say the least, but I'm still working on it. But we've stayed in touch. He's been a great leader in our community. Let me mention a couple of leadership traits that he has that's made him so successful. First, as you know, he likes to get his way, right? So one of his techniques, if he doesn't get his way, is he pouts. He will pout, and people will feel sorry for Jim, and they will go along with what he wants to do. He can also show an amazing, he's competitive, lack of sportsmanship. And I want one particular example that goes all the way back to the early 80s and the Great Raleigh Road Race. I was finely tuned athlete, except that I overheated and hit the ground at about mile 4. So Jim, being quite a bit behind me, came by, saw me on the ground, kept on going. It was his one chance to win a race against me. And not only that embarrassing situation, I was actually mayor at the time, so it got a lot of publicity, but he had some of his artists draw this picture where he had the tortoise and the hare. And he was a tortoise, and a picture of him with a shell breaking through the finish line, and me with these 2 big ears in a ditch. Jim likes to work in the background. In 1976, I was chairman of the Wake County United Way, and I asked Jim to be the marketing vice chairman, which he agreed to do. We met once a month at 8 o'clock in the morning. He missed all 12 meetings. He missed all 12 meetings. But he got more done in marketing than anybody before or since. So he really brought a lot to it. But a lot of times we go to meetings and first thing people look around, they say, "Where's Jim?" But he does a wonderful job. So there are just a couple of things I wanted to hit, a couple of gaps that maybe the governor's missed on. But Jim's been very effective. Of course, you know the things that have been mentioned. Dix Park, that's very current and very exciting opportunity for our community. Of course, Fletcher Foundation, going back to '87, the Olympic Festival. Jim has been a leader in the region, and the Olympic Festival brought the region together like nothing before, or maybe even since. So Jim was a real leader in that. Certainly revitalization of Durham, the downtown area, the Durham Bulls, the Smart Start, the governor mentioned, the Healing Place. So when the question is, what's next in the triangle, we call on Barbara and Jim. Thank you very much.
You see, sometimes we honor and we also roast, and so it's if you ever need Smedes, he delivers. Thank you so much, Smedes York. At this time, I want to invite our current chairman of the board back to the stage, Tom Williams, and also invite our honorees, Jim and Barbara Goodman, so that we can present the award. to them our 2019 J. Robinson Education Leadership Award. All right, so on behalf of the Board of Directors and the Public School Forum of North Carolina, Tom Williams and I are proud to present the award. We have a plaque, and then we have, as has become a tradition, we have a piece of North Carolina pottery from North Carolina potter Ben Owen. So we're going to take a picture.
Well, I thought Jim was talking first. First of all, this has been a wonderful night. It's an honor to receive this award, to see all the people that I've worked with throughout the years, and to reminisce about things we did, and how some of it funny, some of it just took lots of time. Some of it isn't done, but it's still on the hot plate. And when I think of education, actually, our daughter is in Greenville, and she teaches in a full lunch program school, and she has made a big difference there in the kids. She's doing a great job there. It's where she belongs. And I'm very proud of her. She couldn't be here tonight. One thing I was thinking about with the schools, and Maria Spalding's here. And Maria was executive director of Wake County Human Services when we all merged. So it was mental health, public health, and social services. And somehow I ended up on that board with Maria, and then would chair it for 4 years. But one of the things that we worked hard to do in the schools is that children in schools are whole people. They're not there just to learn. They are there to learn, I'm sorry. But they have to be whole. And a whole person needs a nurse. A whole person needs a social worker. And we worked really hard to try to make this happen 15 years ago. And I had no idea it still hadn't happened until I just heard something tonight. I don't know how the best of teachers can do what they are gifted to do and need to do unless the schools are able to have the correct ratio of the whole person. So, thank you. So that's all the time I have to talk. So, I wasn't supposed to have that long, but I did want to put that out, that the schools need to really, somebody needs to totally push this, because you have school, we're great in Wake County for the most part. Come on to the mountains where I stay in the summer, and I'll be glad to take you around to the schools there. They hardly have a teacher, much less a nurse or a social worker. No, there's nothing about it. And this isn't right. This is not right that our kids aren't given the opportunity that I wish I didn't have those opportunities growing up either. And I'm really sorry I didn't have an opportunity at the education, the kind of complete education that would have made me a more complete person. I would later be able on my own to do that, but I didn't then. And I can understand how kids come to school, and not everybody's in a perfect family. And they need this. So please, if we can somehow work that in to better curriculum, and that would make me make the foundation of very happy people. Thank you. And thank you again.
My name is Mr. Barbara Goodman. I know what's going on here. I'm aware of. All right, so I've got a bunch, just, you know me, I've got these, this is not connected. It is, but it's not. So, Smeeds, I thought Smeeds had stopped speaking at his age. You worry. It's kind of a little slow coming up on the stairs there, but it's, thank you for what, all right, look, let's get this straight from the beginning. The Raleigh High School is Needham Broughton High School. As a matter of fact, the fight song is Cheer Raleigh High School. We are the Raleigh High School. So that's, write that down. I want to spend some time on how important I believe the public school forum is to our dreams for public education. The important thing about the public school forum is that the public school forum will tell the truth. Now that's if you don't do that now, we won't get through this if you don't. Right now, I know that politics is sort of the art of the possible, and you're supposed to compromise, and you want a seat at the table, and so you end up not saying anything to anybody because you're afraid you'll offend somebody. And so the truth, the right stuff, the facts never come out. But this organization does that. That's why I wanted to do Education Matters. That's why we support the organization, is they've got some guts to say, wait a minute, hold on a second. This average teacher salary we're talking about, yeah, well, that's right. We added up all the teacher salaries and divided by the number of teachers, but hold on a minute. A large part of that is local supplements. That's not what the state's providing. Right? But no, I told you no. Right? And the question is, what is the state putting in the teacher salary? Right? If you take Wake County and Mecklenburg County out, it doesn't, we got a long way to go on that. By the way, why do you ever, this is something, I wish you hadn't told anybody I used to be a Republican. Why did you tell that? Wait a minute, I still am, I don't know. What is political about public education? Why, I mean, what do you want to argue about as to whether or not we want to have a great public education system? I'm return on investment, make appropriate investments, get the results you need. I have no idea why that is anything other than something that we all do, right? So, but here was hold on. So here's the public school forum, and the public school forum went through an organizational crisis, right? Here comes the new legislature, and they say, well, let's just do away with the teaching fellows. Okay. right? And then we entered a period. I thought about calling Smeets to talk about this. I think I've covered 8 governors at W. I got to count them up again. I was so glad Governor Hutton couldn't run again for governor. He damn near killed us. We worked so hard for him. And I got another sitting next to him. I got 5 things written down he wants me to do. Hold on. Here is what North Carolina has been, in my view. I think Smeeds will agree with this. Tom Bradshaw's here. He'll agree with that. With those of us that have been around forever, is the discussions we had every new legislative session was, how are we going to do better? Right? There was a constant, every night they do, there was a constant improve. We got to do better. What are our problems, and whether we need to make the investments that we need to make to improve our public school system. Now, here's the public school forum sitting there, and here we are, and damn if we didn't turn around and go backwards. Right, and that was a shock. None of us knew what to do. Right, and so now we are fighting, and it is a fight, to stop the retreat. And isn't it awful to say what we want to do is get back to where we used to be? What is that? But that's where we are. And so the public school forum has had to respond to that new atmosphere, to really work on organizations, to get people together, really work on what the facts are, and promote public education. So I really congratulate you guys on that. Big change in what you have to do. I think somebody called Keith a liberal running a phony organization because he put out the truth about teacher pay, right? So anyhow, congratulations to the Public School Forum. You guys are cool. Hold it. Wait, it's not over. Wait a minute. I'm not saying everything is good and everything's cool and we've solved the problem. No, the key message is we got to keep the fight going. Keep fighting. It is not over. I wanted to read this little piece. So this is the Time magazine right after we got working on Smart Start. From birth, a baby's brain cells proliferate wildly, making connections that may shape a lifetime of experience. The first 3 years are critical. That's the lead in the Time magazine. I got a bunch of folks from the office. We drove all around Raleigh to newsstands to get as many as we could and to deliver to the legislature. Now, depending on the company I'm with, I'll say to those legislators that can read. I know, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. I really didn't. But that, okay, that's the kind of edge. I have an edge. Did you notice? I have an edge. North Carolina had the highest percentage of women with preschool children that work. Did I say that right? Women with preschool children that work, putting significant pressure on the whole early childhood. We had the pay was terrible. There were no benefits. There were no education programs for early childhood workers. None of that was there, and with the governor's leadership we organize it just like you'd organize any business or any group to the success of many counties. So I'm really on to voting. I'll quit after this. So here's my deal. If you don't vote, I don't want to talk to you. You want to be a player or not? You want to be in somebody else's county or city or state or country or something? Vote. Please vote. I think that'll really solve some of the problems. And guys, how's civics going in the schools? No, wait. We need to have people, we need to get into the importance of voting. You know, and that's it. This is really embarrassing. This morning I was thinking, why in the world did we agree to do this? But I've had a great time. I'm really encouraged and happy and honored by this, and I'm glad to see you all, the teachers, you guys. You guys are where it's at. You're our future, and we're going to do everything. I know the Public School Forum is, and we are. Barbara and I are the Fletcher Foundation. We're going to do everything we can to help you be successful. Just let us know what we can do. Call Barbara. Thank you.